Have you known Jesus? Have you met with the grace of God? Or are you the same yesterday, today, and forever? If not, I want to urge you that you were made for more than that. It's really important that when we're talking about doing, that we're always conscious of what the Bible tells us about being a people of grace, about understanding grace before we understand how to act. Because if we get it confused, if we miss grace, then we're going to go one of two ways. You know, Paul said not to miss the grace of God. He says the writer to the Hebrews says, see to it that no one misses the grace of God. And so it's very important as we read this to keep in our mind the verses that are following and what they say about salvation and about grace. See to it that no one misses the grace of God. You know, when we were out yesterday and we were sharing the gospel, I spoke to one particular gentleman, and I've met lots of people who speak like this. He said, you know what, I don't believe in your God. I said, okay, why is that? And he said, because when I look at the world, I see that all the evil, all of the wars have been over religion. Religion has caused so many terrible, terrible wars, and therefore I can't believe in your God. And so I asked him, there's a lot of wars that have been fought over politics. Are you telling me that you don't believe the Prime Minister exists? I said to him, you know what? I think that there is something else that is happening here. And it's this, that there are wars and there is quarreling over all kinds of things. There is politics. People quarrel over politics, fight, even wars over politics. There are all kinds of things that start wars. There are wars that start over food. There are wars that start over family feuds and disagreements between husband and wife. All sorts of wars get started, and some of them are over religion, and some of them are not. But the thing that they all have in common is this: people. Every single war that has ever been started has been started by people. People like you and me have started every single war. Not every war has been over religion, but every war has been started by people. And this is exactly what we were talking about last week when we talked about the church being a seed or being an insurgent force in society. You see, human beings have been corrupted, have fallen. The Bible says that God created humanity in a perfect way, but human beings rebelled against God's order. And because we rebelled against God's order, there is disorder, there is chaos, both in society and in the heart of human beings. There is chaos and disorder because humanity rejected God's order. Human beings are fallen, the Bible says, and sinful. And because of that, fallen humanity corrupts everything that it touches. It corrupts law and order, politics. It corrupts religion. Everything that humanity touches in its sinful human state becomes corrupted. And so I said to this man, the problem is people. And actually the fact that you have said that people fight over religion, that there are wars over religion, actually proves that it is important. It proves that it is real, because no one ever started a war over a jam donut, because a jam donut is not very important. Mind you, I might fight you over a jam donut right now. I'm on a low-carb diet. But the reality is that when wars are started, it usually involves something that matters, not something that does not matter. So what you're saying, that wars have started over religion, tells me that religion is a very important thing. Very important in society. And it also proves this. Humanity is corrupt and fallen and starts wars, and therefore humanity needs saving. Humanity needs saving from the corruption that is in the heart of people that starts wars, whether they be over religion, whether they be over politics, or whether they be over something else. The argument that wars are started over religion or anything else shows that human beings have a problem and human beings need help. And so this series is called Rewire: The Power of God's Grace to Change Everything, because humanity needs rewiring and humanity needs the grace of God. And it's important, I said, to remember this as we look at these verses about doing good and submitting and all that stuff, because we have to remember that grace has to be at the heart of it. It is grace that changes a man, not trying harder, but grace. It is the salvation of God, because people try to be better all the time. And if someone says, I will never again, you can almost always guarantee that they definitely will again, whatever it is. If you've ever had an alcoholic in your family, you know every time they mess up, what do they say? I will never drink again. And what do? That's the nature of sin. And so you won't change yourself simply by trying harder. But Titus says back in an earlier verse, in chapter 2 from verse 11, he says, the grace of God has appeared. The grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation for all people and training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age. I want to tell you today that the key to change is not try harder, but the key to change is surrender to the Lord Jesus Christ. The key to change is acknowledging that I am fallen, I am a sinner, and Jesus died for me. And that there is no other way to God and there is no other way to change except through Him. It is only through Jesus that I can be saved. And you may look around and you may say, well, probably most of the people here this morning are saved. They're born again. They know Jesus. I want to tell you this. There are two things that grace does. The first thing that grace does is it assures you that you are forgiven. But the second thing that grace does is that it changes you and it transforms you. First, it shows you forgiveness, and then it saves you from your sin. And so there are two things that happen when somebody comes to believe in Jesus in a genuine and saving way. The first thing is they understand that they are forgiven, but the second thing that happens is they begin to change. The Bible says that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's a wonderful quality for God. that he is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But it is a terrible quality for a human being to be the same yesterday, today, and forever. Every single human being needs to change, and the gospel of grace is not just that God saved you, but also that he will change you. When I first got saved, they used to teach us that the grace of God, Grace, means God's riches at Christ's expense. That the grace of God is that which is unearned and undeserved, and yet he gives it anyway. The grace of God. It comes to every one of us if we will receive it, if we will put our trust in him. But you see, grace not only forgives, but grace empowers change. And so I want to urge you this morning, if you are the same yesterday, today, and forever, if you can look back over the last year or 2 or 5 years, I want to urge you this morning to ask yourself, did I ever receive the grace that changes a man, the grace that changes a woman? If nothing's changing, then grace is not working. Grace is not doing anything in your heart. And you're not going to change by trying harder. Are you trying harder and failing again and again by trying and trying every time? Could it be that you've never really, as the writer to the Hebrews said, gotten a hold of grace, understood grace? Could it be that you have missed the grace of God? I want to urge you this morning that if you have never truly given your heart to Jesus and known that you are forgiven and known what it is to begin to change and be transformed, that this morning, even if you've been in the church for 10 years, even if you were born in the church, many of us here, I know, we grew up in the church. From so high, you grew up in the church. But my question this morning is, did you know Jesus? Have you known Jesus? Have you met with the grace of God? Or are you the same yesterday, today, and forever? If not, I want to urge you that you were made for more than that. You were made for more than to just live the earthly life of get rich or die trying. You were made for more than just go to work, eat your supper, go to sleep, get up, start all over again, go out on a Friday night, do something crazy, then go to church on Sunday morning, then get up on Monday morning, go to work again. No, you were created for something more. You were created to shine with the glory of God's Spirit upon you. You were made to be an example. You were made to be a representation of Christ. You were made to be somebody who out there in the world is making an impression. Even if you're just in a simple workplace or in a school or somewhere like that, even if you're just doing something simple that looks like an ordinary life that anyone would live, and yet in the midst of that, you are shining because you look different, you think different, you act different. Is the grace of God activated in your life? I want to urge you to consider that you were made for more than that. Don't miss to live your life as God intended it to be lived. Don't wait another 10 years, 20 years, and then look back on your life with regret, because most of the things that people long for never satisfy. There's someone who once said, I reached the top of the mountain and there was nothing there.